Welcome to the Home Pro Podcast, your source for expert insights and practical tips from the leading minds in home services. Get ready to conquer your local market with your host and founder of Big Fish Local, Seth Evans.
Seth Evans here. I'm the host of the Home Pro Podcast, where we share wisdom from top service professionals and coaches to help you become the big fish in your local pond. Join us for insights and strategies that drive growth and success. Today's episode is brought to you by Big Fish Local, your trusted partner in navigating the digital landscape. Our dedicated team specializes in creating impactful digital marketing strategies tailored to your business needs. From optimizing your website for search engines to enhancing your presence on social media, we are here to help you thrive in your local market. Discover the potential of your business with Big Fish Local's comprehensive marketing solutions. For more on how we can boost your online visibility and drive real growth, visit bigfishlocal.org. Today, I'll be interviewing Matt Yerkes, entrepreneur and small business owner that operates Cultivate, multiple business centers, and a website development company. Matt's passion is helping other entrepreneurs along their journey to grow their businesses. The resources of the nonprofit Cultivate and the service provided by Matt's business all align to help entrepreneurs move their business forward. Hey, Matt, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Seth.
Oh, I'm so glad you're here. So, Matt, I know that you are really involved in a lot of different activities and opportunities and businesses, all in alignment to help other entrepreneurs. My question for you is, how did you get into that space? What led you there?
So that's a great question. So I have been an entrepreneur really since I kind of grew up in it. You know, my parents were small business owners. I really, from an early age, knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I just had to really find the right opportunity for that. And in 2001, I started my software business, and I was able to grow that company. And along the way, I had the opportunity to purchase and renovate about a half a dozen small commercial buildings in older downtown areas. And one of those buildings I renovated for my software business, and got to work with a lot of creative and technology businesses as part of that. And they would frequently ask me, you know, if they could, you know, have an office in our space, you know. And at that time, we weren't really set up for that. This was really even before any of the traditional co-working spaces came about. But I had that in the back of my mind. And when I sold my software business in 2015, there was another property in downtown Grove City that became available. And it was a building that had been boarded up for 10 years right in the heart of our downtown. And I decided to jump into that and purchase and renovate that building with the idea of creating an entrepreneur space in there. And that kind of evolved, you know, as we were doing our renovations, which took a while because it was in need of so much work. But we were able to start building some collaborations with what we would call community partners, you know, some chambers, other nonprofits, some municipalities, and decided to start Cultivate as a nonprofit to best serve some of the small businesses that we encountered. At the same time, my wife and I operated the facility as a shared office space, you know, where people could have, you know, everything from a virtual office plan to a dedicated suite. And we began to host small business trainings in that space. And that just really took off. In 2018, we opened a second location in London, Ohio. In 2020, we opened another location in Pickerington. And we just started working with other organizations and co-working spaces around the state that really were trying to do the same thing to help small businesses and you know, bring them some of the resources that they needed to be successful.
Oh, that's amazing. You know, I am curious, in these spaces that you've been cultivating, to use a word, what benefit does that provide for some of our listeners who are in the home services trade? They might think, okay, well, we have an office, we are usually running out to customers' homes, doing the work. Why would I want to be a part of a space like that?
So there's, I have several different businesses, Cultivate's a nonprofit. I have these business centers where people can have various plans, including virtual office plans. But so to answer that question, there's a few different things that we bring together in our facilities. The first is we regularly host educational small business trainings. A lot of those small business trainings are geared on how to help a small business with their sort of marketing best practices, with maybe some of their financial best practices, really kind of getting into like the grassroots of how they can build, get customers, and kind of really, think about that. A lot of the small business owners we work with are really fantastic at doing this thing that they do, whether they're a roofer or a plumber or a consultant, but they maybe have never had any professional sales or marketing experience, and they don't really know where to begin, or they've had some negative experiences with different vendors, and they're a little, cut off at some of the promises that can be made, by certain vendors. So, so we host these workshops. We do those through Cultivate. We've been able to have you actually, Big Fish Local, host a number of those for us at some of our locations. And that's really important, how we can bring those services together. And as part of that, we are always looking for ways to make what we call a strategic referral for these businesses to different service providers and other entrepreneur support organizations that we have, built relationships with along the way, that we think are really ideally suited to help the particular business that we're getting to know. So if they are a multi-location, home pro, like in your this kind of customers that you often work with at Big Fish Local, and they're looking for help with their marketing, we would typically refer them to you or a partner that has similar strengths that you have. If they're looking for help making a business plan, we have other resources in the region that we can help them with to do that. Small business loans, resources for that. So that's a big part of what we do for Cultivate. Now, with our buildings themselves, we have really found a number of changes since we opened the doors in 2016 for our small business spaces. Of course, that was pre-COVID. At that time, a lot of folks had a brick and mortar location, or they just worked with their customers out in the field. Maybe they, are a plumbing business and they could just work from home. Back in those days, it was really quite simple for a business to establish a Google business profile. And, back then you could pretty much drop a pin anywhere. Then eventually they began a process to, send you a postcard to verify you were at that address, but it's still a very low level of verification that you actually, existed. But over the years, Google has really, tried to protect their brand. And the purpose of your Google business profile is to be able for customers to be able to find you and visit your business. So Google has really tightened that up and made that more restrictive to really focus on businesses that a customer could actually come and visit. So it's becoming more important for these small businesses that want to have a Google business profile to have the ability to meet with customers at wherever their business location is. And for a traditional brick and mortar business like a retail shop or a restaurant, that's easy to accomplish. They have a dedicated space. But for small businesses, especially in home services industries, well, any service-based business, if that business works out of the home, or they're in the field just working at their customer at the job site all day, and they don't have a commercial business location, it is getting increasingly difficult to comply with these requirements that Google has. So we have plans that include dedicated spaces, really small office like spaces that people can have as a dedicated space. They meet all the different requirements that Google has to have permanent signage in the building, to have physical lock access to the building, and most importantly, to be able to offer business hours where they could meet with a customer. So we offer that. And we have some options for businesses that don't necessarily need like a dedicated office every day to come into work, but we have some plans for them that give them the opportunity to still meet with customers at their stated hours, even if it's by appointment, and have permanent signage in the building and physical access to the into the building and meet some of those requirements so that they can have a Google business profile at our buildings. And so that's a changing landscape, all the time. I just got an email yesterday from Google for some of our profiles that they're updating their terms and conditions yet again. But that is such an important way for service businesses, any business, locally owned business, to be able to be found, by people that are looking for what they offer. So being able to help dozens of small businesses with that type of a solution is really important for us.
Yeah, Matt, when I, in this space, digital marketing where I operate, that's often one of the most critical elements for the service pros that I work with, that if they don't have a solid Google business profile, or maybe they don't have one in the area where they actually serve, maybe it's at their home right now or in some space that's not truly where they're operating, and they're having a real challenge being found by the customers that are looking for them. So I love how you've found these creative ways to really help businesses get established in the areas that they want to serve. Do you have any stories of times where that has made a critical difference for one of the businesses that you support?
I do. So we have a local plumber in Grove City that came to us. He had recently relocated to the Grove City area from out of state, and was starting up his plumbing business in Grove City. And they were having a really hard time getting the word out about their customers. And what we were able to put together for him was really sort of a three-leg solution that are what really the fundamentals that we like to call a professional business presence. So and these have to be implemented in a sequence. And so the first thing that people need is a business address in the heart of the community that they're trying to serve. So, if you're a Grove City business, then that's in Grove City. If, wherever that community is, and sometimes it might be multiple communities that you're trying to serve, but that's the first thing, is a business address in the heart of the community you're trying to serve. The second thing is you need to have a website. So, and that website really needs to feature that business address that you're using. So, there's a lot of small businesses, especially businesses that have traditionally worked out of their home, where they're really trying to sort of hide or obscure their home location. They don't want customers or subcontractors coming to their house, for any reason, or salespeople showing up at their house. So they want to maybe, not feature their home address, but that's why you need to have a business address at a place where you can, kind of do this. So have that on your website. I'm convinced that the first thing that happens when you set up your Google business profile is their systems are going out to look to see, how you're using, if you're already using that address in online in various places. So, you'll use that address on your website, of course, and then on your all the other platforms that support, having your name, address, phone number, all your location data. We also think it's really important that website, even if it's just a simple one-page landing site, it needs to include some fundamental things. It needs to include what we would call your unique value proposition, this unique statement that explains what your business offers and why people should buy from you. That is really hard for small business owners that have never had any marketing experience to create that succinct, like almost an elevator pitch for their business that really kind of connects with customers. We have some workshops at Cultivate where we'll help people to develop that succinct statement. And then the second thing your site has to include is a call to action, because when people come to your site or they see a post that you have on social media, we have to explain to your potential customers what is that next step that they should take to engage your business. And, we have to be really clear about that. So whether it's to call you, fill out this form, whatever that, book an appointment, whatever that looks like, we have to make that really clear to people. And then the third piece, the first sort of leg of what we call a professional business presence is your Google business profile. And so there's the first part of that is just getting it set up and verified, which can take, honestly, it can take weeks, depending on potential delays. Sometimes it happens faster, but most people don't realize all of the features that are possible in your Google business profile to really get noticed. So part of those features are helping even Google to understand all the things that your business does, so that they can feature you when people in your area are looking for this solution that you offer. So you can put your services, you can write descriptions for those services, you can post to your Google profile just like you post to Facebook with events and offers and, almost like little news, posts. Of course, you can do all the other things like have your office hours, a booking link, add photos. And then, of course, that's where you manage all of your reviews. And so those are the three legs, the business address in the heart of the community you're trying to serve, a website that clearly explains what your business offers and why they should buy from you, and this Google business profile that is really using the best of all these features that Google makes available for free to you. And so we were able to help this plumber to do those for his business. And it's just been really exciting to see how his business takes off. I am actually what's called a manager on his Google business profile. And almost every day I get an alert where someone has left him a 5-star review for the great services that he has. His wife has joined the business just to help keep up with, billing and customer service. He was able to purchase a, like a panel van. He's got, his name and phone number is like in, 8-foot letters on the sides of this panel van. See him driving around Grove City every day, and he's just super busy. And but, for someone that that's struggling to get noticed, if you don't have those three sort of fundamental things, it's going to be really hard, so being able to help these small businesses put all that together and, so they can, be found, people know they exist and get great reviews. That's just really exciting to see them grow.
That's a really good story. I really appreciate you sharing that. If some of our listeners were interested in learning more about that specific strategy of claiming a space in the heart of the community they serve, I know you have a few business centers that you operate specifically in a few different neighborhoods. But if they are serving a neighborhood outside of that, would you still be able to give them some help with that?
I can. I would love to. So, really the first key was a business address in the heart of the community you're trying to serve. So, we have businesses coming to us that, they want to be in, highly populated suburbs like Grove City or, but they also want to reach other suburbs, or maybe that is not where they're from. Maybe there's obviously all throughout Central Ohio and the state of Ohio. So, they're the ones that know, where their business needs to be, what's kind of like their home base. And so we've been working over the last 3 or 4 years to really curate a list of some other spaces where people could satisfy those three core elements. Have a business address, with like a real suite number, but also at a location that would comply with Google's requirements to be able to meet with customers there and have permanent signage. So there's a number of places throughout the region where we could, point people to that where some of our other clients have successfully been able to implement that strategy there. So we would, be glad to make an introduction to those places. And so we field those kinds of requests on, almost a weekly basis for folks that are trying to, find the right place for their, for their business to show up. And along with that, we would point them into the direction of other resources that could be helpful for their business. So typically talk with people for 15 or 20 minutes, get an idea of what they're trying to do with their business, what kind of business they have. And, since I've been doing these small business advising for Cultivate, I have literally met with over 1,000 small businesses. So I'm able to pretty quickly kind of dial into some of the needs, that many of these businesses have in common, and help them get connected to some of the other resources in our region that could help them.
That's perfect, Matt. If someone did want to reach out and connect with you, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Yeah, so the best way to get a hold of me is our Cultivate website. Our Cultivate website is cultivateworks.org, cultivateworks.org. And the best thing to do is on the homepage of our website, we list all of the different workshops that we offer. Some of those are in person that we do at different places around the state, but a number of them are over Zoom so that it's easy to to join from wherever you're at. It's also easier for me to deliver, so I don't have to travel to do all these presentations every week. So that's a great way to get started, is to just join one of our presentations. The other thing you could do is there is a page, obviously a contact area on our website where people can reach out and just say they want to have a meeting with me, and we'll set up a time to chat. Usually it's over Zoom. Usually that's over Zoom.
And just as a brief testimonial, I can tell you that Big Fish Local is a client of Cultivate and one of Matt's business centers, and we have absolutely expanded our business due to having that space in the heart of London, Ohio. And Matt's also been just a fantastic connector, someone who has really put us in touch with a lot of other folks that would really be fantastic folks to either be connected to or work with in some way, shape, or form. So I just really appreciate that about you, Matt, that you're always looking out for the folks that you serve and truly being a great resource for them.
Well, thank you.
So, Matt, as a business owner yourself, one thing that I would love to hear about is, what's one lesson that you've learned over the years of running this nonprofit, running multiple businesses and entrepreneurial ventures? What's something that's really stood out for you as a lesson?
So one of the things that was really helpful for me in my entrepreneurial journey is prior to starting my own business, I was in a sales role at a graphics and advertising production company, and that I had that role for 5 or 6 years before I started my own business, my software company, and that sales experience is the single most important key to the success that I've had in these businesses that I've started. But I feel like that's the idea of sales is really misunderstood, and by people that have never really been in like a professional selling role. But as a small business owner, especially in the early days, you're wearing every hat in the business, right? So you are the salesperson, you're everything, and you're trying to sell and produce the work at the same time. It's really hard. But what I have learned, through trial and error, but it is all sales really is a trust building process. And I think that when I share that with small business owners, entrepreneurs, in a way that's kind of comforting, this is really all about relationship building, the way you would build any relationship in your life. And so helping people to think about their creating a process, a repeatable process in their business that can put them in front of new people, create a connection with those that have a need for what you offer, and begin this process to build a relationship with them, build trust with them, where they trust in you, your product, and your brand, and things, you've connected enough that they can become a customer. And of course, that's really different for certain different kinds of businesses. If my water heater is broken and my family doesn't have hot water, I'm calling someone that feels like a fair price. I'm gonna just have them do the job, right? But if I'm talking about, something much larger, maybe I'm gonna have them, redesign and remodel my kitchen for $60,000, $80,000. There's a lot more trust that has to be built. So there's going to be several different points of contact where you're going to be able to really understand what that customer's needs are. And so people that can become good at that are going to be really successful in whatever their business venture is. And I have a workshop that I offer called the Growth Track. It's on the homepage of our Cultivate site right now. I'm going to be, at least for the next several months, I'll be offering that. And that's what that presentation is really all about, is how to create this trust building process to continually add new customers. Because it doesn't matter how great a business you are going to always lose, customers through no fault of your own. Maybe they leave the area, just all kinds of reasons why, you wouldn't be able to, serve those customers again, even through no fault of your own, even if you do a great job. So you'll always have to be adding new customers, and to keep your foot on the gas as a small business owner and not lose sight of that, which when you're in those early days and you have to do all the sales and all the work, it is really, really hard, to do that until you can grow to a point where you can start to build a team that can help you with some of those things. So really keeping your eye on the ball and focused on, growing your business is so important.
Speaking of keeping your eye on the ball, that's a phrase that my dad used to tell me when I was playing baseball as a kid. And it makes me wonder, what are some of the folks that have had an impact on you, maybe mentors or leaders that you look up to?
So there's a long list of people that have really helped me along the way. And I was 30 when I started my first business, and back in those days, I was overconfident, in a lot of my abilities, and wasn't as open to hearing some of the wisdom that was shared to me. And so I wish I would have listened to some of those things earlier. But those people that have really impacted me the most are people that follow a couple different sort of things where I would call them servant leaders. So there's actually a great book called Servant Leader, and these are people that are really willing to invest in you, share time with you, make connections for you, really without necessarily expecting anything in return. And so I've had a number of people that have done that for me over the course of my life, and that has been really important for everything that I've been able to accomplish, is having those kinds of people around you, and building those kinds of relationships with folks. And so the way that you get those kinds of relationships in your life is by pouring out into other people. So that mindset of which took me a while to really put together, making yourself available to help other people, to mentor other people, to make connections for other people. Think in your spare time about what you could do that would be helpful to these other people in their entrepreneurial journey. The more that I do that and put that into other people, it's not necessarily the same people that are pouring back into me, but I find that I do have more of those kinds of interactions with people pouring back into my life.
Yeah, it's that old adage that you get what you give, right?
Yeah.
It's really important, and I love that servant leader model. And some of our other guests, Terry Cool from Garber Electric, shared something very similar when he was sharing his journey and what some of his mentors, coaches, and folks that he's looked up to over the year have shared. So I love that. In your own personal kind of day-to-day life, do you have any rituals or routines that you engage in that you find really helpful and important in your own growth?
Well, I am unfortunately a workaholic. So and I think this comes from, my parents being small business owners and, having, several small businesses of my own, that really never stops. So just all the time, you're consumed with, you know, all the different facets of your businesses. But one of the things that I have been able to adopt is, really having some dedicated times during the day to really detail my priorities and what I'm trying to accomplish. And the other piece that I am uh, learning, to do better is to really block aside time to not work. And that has been a challenge for me. But to really have some times, that I've just kind of blocked aside, to be with my family or do other things that are not related to work, that's really important.
I think that's a really key thing that you said right there. And I bet a lot of folks who are listening to this can relate. It seems to be that many entrepreneurs, business owners, we get into this habit of pouring ourselves so fully into what we're doing. And you need to in some ways when you're starting a business, but at the same time, if you don't start setting those proper boundaries and giving yourself space, it's so easy to get burnt out. So I love that you've recognized that and that you're actively creating those spaces. And, they say the first step to getting better is admitting you have a problem. So I think that's good too. All of us entrepreneurs probably need to admit that a little bit. So you mentioned that some of the, in these spaces that you try to create time for family or time for yourself, or sometimes just empty space. Are there any fun hobbies or activities that you really enjoy doing when you do have those spaces?
Yeah. So, well, mainly doing things outdoors, we like to hike and, so, wherever we're, going on the travel, we like to travel too. So anywhere we go, we're going to really try and find some place to go outdoors and get in a good hike. And, just really, spend some time in nature. Um, I had the good fortune last year to climb Mount Washington in New Hampshire, and
Oh, wow.
so that was like my biggest hike. And but they're not all at that level out. But just being able to really, experience those outdoor times is very refreshing for me.
What's the coolest thing you've ever seen on one of those hikes?
Uh, you know, um, that's kind of a hard question to answer, but really hikes where, obviously there's like a reward in the hike of seeing a spectacular view or waterfalls or, any of those things, or even animals, it's great to see in there. Sometimes, like in the case of climbing Mount Washington, uh, it's cloudy at the top. It was middle of July and it was 30-degree wind chill up there, and you're in the clouds, so you couldn't even see the view. You're just putting one foot in front of the other, basically, by the time I was getting up at the top of that mountain. But yeah, just really seeing like the animals and the views is refreshing to me.
I feel like there's a lesson in there where you just said putting one foot in front of the other, even when you can't see always, where you're headed or what the view is going to look like, but that forward momentum building up. That's pretty cool. Well, good. Matt, it's been really, really good chatting with you today. And I do have one final question for you as we're kind of wrapping things up. And that here it is. So if you just imagine with me for a minute that you are at an award ceremony, sort of like maybe the Grammys or the Emmys or something like that. And you're being awarded a Lifetime Achievement Award. And the question is this: who are you thanking for it?
That's a great question. Never really saw myself getting a Lifetime Achievement Award, so I've never really thought about that
Well,
question.
congratulations.
But
Here's your chance.
but I would just have to think, my family, would be maybe my family has stood, been a big part of everything at the heart of everything we've ever accomplished. Every business I have is a family owned and family run business, so it's not just me. We're all in it together. And I remember when I started my software company and quit my day job, that was a pretty good day job. And my wife was 8 months pregnant with our second child. And there's it was actually just after 9/11. So like the economy, the stock market and everything was kind of really uncertain, and but my wife and my family just stood with me, to start to make that leap. And so who else could I thank besides my family?
I love that you said that. And you're not the first one who has answered that, but I think that just reflects how important it is to have people in your corner, whether it's your family or close friends or mentors, but just having folks that stick by you through thick and thin and support you in that journey. That's so, so important. Well, Matt, it has been fantastic having you on the show. We've been chatting with Matt Yerkes, the entrepreneur and small business owner who operates Cultivate, a number of business centers, and just a fantastic human being. So if you would like to connect with Matt, don't forget the best way to do that is to go to cultivateworks.org. Did I get that right?
Yes.
All right. Fantastic. Thanks, Matt. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Thanks for listening to the Home Pro Podcast. Be sure to click subscribe to be notified of future episodes. We'll see you again next time.